Yes, welcome everyone, and we are very much looking forward to Captain Sarah Lawrence's presentation on day in the life of a towboat captain. I'm just going to give you a little background on Captain Sarah, who grew up in the family business of Tow Jamm Marine, which started in 1989. Sarah went on to school at St. Mary's College in Maryland, where she graduated while competing in sailing at the Division I collegiate level, which I hope we get to hear more about. After college, she got her 100-ton Coast Guard license and lived aboard her sailboat in the Abacos, also very interesting and sounds very fun. Spending 9 years as a captain doing deliveries, charters, running a junior sailing and ASA school, and cruising the Caribbean and East Coast. She handles dispatch, marketing, safety outreach, and occasional captaining for the business. Captain Sarah also owns and operates Chesapeake Boating Academy, an on-water training school in the Kent Narrows. Chesapeake Boating Academy offers a 3-hour hands-on boating course aboard training boat with an instructor captain. All right, Sarah, it's over you now. And then if folks that have questions, remember you got your chat. Just go ahead and post that there. And then as we get a minute, I'll ask Sarah your thoughts and questions. All right, Sarah.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you all so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to being here this evening with you guys. And I just wanted to put together a little presentation, kind of what it's like to have a marine towing and salvage business, what we do on a day-to-day and year-to-year basis. So I'm going to get started here. So we're located on Maryland's eastern shore on the Chesapeake Bay. We have two ports. We have towboat US Kent Narrows and Naps Narrows. We have a total of 4 towboats that kind of service our area of response. Our area in particular has pretty low boater density. So we do a lot of longer tows, usually back across the bay towards Annapolis or Baltimore. We're more of a destination area. So you guys probably know St. Michael's, Oxford, Chestertown. People come over here for those sort of places. We've also got the Wye River and lots of beautiful anchorages. Average water depths on the bay is around 21 feet. So a lot of our tows, you know, we're dealing with short chop and oftentimes a soft mud bottom for our ungroundings. So pretty favorable conditions compared to some of the other parts in the country that have less forgiving bottoms, like, you know, the Northeast with all the rocks. So it's pretty nice here. This is a woman-owned business. So it's actually owned by my mother, Mary Gilmer. It was established in 1989. The name of the business is Tow Jamm Marine. If you're in a jam, need a tow, call Tow Jamm. So we're affiliated with Boat US. So we're doing business as Tow US Kent Narrows and Naps Narrows. So we like to let people know that we are independently and locally owned and operated business. So we employ everybody locally. We own our towboats. So when you call for help, you're getting the local knowledge of our local captains, but you're also getting the backing of, if you're a Boat US member, national backing, so that your membership covers you anywhere you are boating across the country. We were one of the first to establish the Tow US brand on the Chesapeake. So late 80s, and since the very beginning, the main priority has been communication. So we put up got a big radio tower over 60 feet tall down off of the chop tank as our base station. So we run our VHF antennas off of that, and we do digital remote dispatch. So we can actually listen to the VHF radio anywhere we are on our phones. So we're always standing by on 16 and other channels. And we work really well with all of our local agencies. So we're hand in hand with the Coast Guard, Maryland NRP, Fire and Rescue. We work with them on SAR patterns, and whenever they need help on the bay or we need help, we're close knit with them. Here's the old G fleet. This is the original Tow Jamm 1. So this is a 25 Parker. You can see this is before we branded with Boat US. So we had a hunter green hull. So we actually branded, we did our contract with Boat US in 1991, and our boats from there turned red. This is the Winning Hoff. This was Tow Jamm 2 at the time, an aluminum boat that actually ended up getting recycled. So these were the first 2 boats that Tow Jamm started with. And here we are now in 2022, 23. We have a 26-foot World Cat. That's Tow Jamm 1. That one stays down closer to the chop tank to service our lower part of the of our area. Then we bought a 26-foot angler. We have a Zodiac 733. And just this year, we bought a 23 Everglades. That's kind of be our new salvage platform, fast response, super shallow. Got a jack plate on it, so we can get into skinny water and just be an extra boat to have when we get busy. We have 2 full-time captains, 6 part-time captains. So a lot of our part-time guys are tug people. So they're on these schedules of 3 on, 3 off. And we're actually always looking, this is a little plug for us, we're always looking for part-time captains. So if you're over our way near Ken Island or Easton, and you're interested, reach out. 2 dispatch, 1 marketing. We've got about 4 divers on call for when we do have salvage jobs or something wrapped in the props. This is just a picture of some of the people on our team. Top left is Captain Trevor Hammond. He's been with us now, I think, going on 17 years. So he's amazing, one of the best captains I've ever met. Knows the Chesapeake like the back of his hand. He's a waterman, a super professional. People love him. Get Alex. He's a tug guy. Ryan is an engineer. Top right's my mom, Mary Gilmer. Bottom left's one of our divers, Patrick. And then we got this guy, Bo. He's on limited oceans license. Carter's on limited ocean. So we got a lot of guys with big licenses that really know their stuff. And we got another diver down here in the bottom right. So we just love our team, and everybody's really close knit. We tend to do a lot of boat refits. So we buy older boat hulls, and we will refit them. The top left, the light blue hull is the angler. My husband bought it in Brooklyn, towed it back, and our neighbors love us because we always have a boat in our yard, but he refitted it there. So he's actually refitting a houseboat now. So he's on his 17th full boat refit. And what we did when we came up here 5 years ago, after moving up from the Bahamas, was we wanted to standardize our equipment. So we wanted to move all of our GPSs, everything to Garmin. We wanted to have it all in the same location. So when you got and switched boats, VHFs were in the same place, everybody knew how to run the exact same radar. And what we try to also do is cycle our engines every 3 to 4 years. We'll pull an engine off, put a new one on, and keep them in rotation, so we know that we're always running new gear. So we, at this point, we've got 2 150 Yamahas kind of sitting, and a 225 Suzuki in case anything were to go. It's sitting there ready as backup. Some of the challenges of running this business, obviously, it's 24/7, 365. So it takes its toll on the family. I hear a lot of people say, that's an amazing business, I'm going to do that. And I tell them it's a lot. My husband's away. We don't see him a lot in the summer when we're super busy. He can never really be more than 15 minutes from the towboat. So it does at times, you're kind of married to the boat, married to the business. But it's also really fulfilling too, getting to help people on the water. One of the things that we tell our guys, and actually this was a lesson from Captain Trevor, is to always treat every day on the water like it's your first day. So by that, we mean never become complacent. When you're at the dock, go over the weather, the tides, check your boat, make sure that you've got your life jacket, make sure that everything is safe and you're ready to go. Don't make bad decisions. So constantly just don't get too relaxed. And that will help prevent accidents. This one is important. Don't forget to date your spouse. I know, as you guys probably know, if you're captains and you're working nonstop, it's important to set time aside and try to go out on dates. 24/7 does take its toll. We've got 2 little kids. We've got a 5 and a 7-year-old. So we do like to try to carve time out where we're not constantly just doing the towboat stuff. So we find that when we make time for that, the business ultimately ends up doing better. Here's some of the successes and the things that we've done in our business, which we have found to work for us. Okay, so business strengths that we feel like are really have been great for a successful approach in our industry is your attitude. The difference between adventure and ordeal. So the way you wake up in the morning and you go out, your attitude is going to affect the way that you act. It's going to affect the way that you interact with your customers. And you really, as a captain on the water, have the ability to change somebody's day from a really crappy day to a really great day. So it's really important that from their first contact to us on the phone or the VHF radio, that we're upbeat, we're positive. We joke that sometimes we're like therapists to these people. They call, you have to hear their boat story, how they got their boat, their family. And it's really, you know, if you're towing their boat, or maybe it's, if unfortunately, if it's sunk and we're doing a salvage, it can be really, really sad for people. So just making sure you're upbeat, staying positive. Also outlook. So play the long game. For us, that's super important. We like to work well with all of the other towers on the bay, work well with locals, support local businesses, so that everybody in the end is winning. And community outreach. So getting involved environmentally and with boating safety in as many ways as possible is where we put our focus. Some of our strengths are and focuses are customer service. Boat US in general has, I think it's like a 93 or 94% approval rating. And then us as an independent company, we're constantly getting 5 stars. And we really feel like people, when they call, they want to hear a human, they want to be reassured. So we have a really strong communication protocol. From the first time a call comes into us, they talk to our base station. The base station's talking to them. They're immediately texting the captain, sending them details. 30 minutes or 15 minutes after that call from dispatch, the captain's now talking to the boater on the water. And then we stay in contact every 30 minutes after that. So they're constantly getting updates of our ETA. You know, upon arrival, we're checking the situation, offering waters, reassuring them, letting them know our arrival back to the destination. And ultimately removing boater stress so that they can have a better day on the water is truly the goal, and turning their day around. So we also have we've been able to bridge our communication with our boaters by implementing some technology. And so I'm gonna show you what we're doing. Some of the technological efficiencies that we're using is Siren Marine. So Siren Marine, we have it on all of our boats. So it allows us to see exactly where our boats are, how fast they're going, you know, the voltage, high water alarms. It gives geofence. So it allows us as dispatchers to accurately figure out and see where all of our boats are and give accurate ETAs to the people on the water without having to constantly call up our captains and ask, where are you? How long are you going to be, to run down to the Chudavon? And also when we leave our boats at the end of the night, we get alarms if a bilge is going off too frequently, or if a towboat leaves the dock, we can see exactly where the captain is. So in the middle of the night, when the guys are out, we can keep a close eye on them and see exactly where they are and that they're okay. Our boats all have wireless eco, so wireless engine cutoff switches. So instead of attaching to the old school red kill switch cord, which we still do, we have our guys wearing the watches. So they are the tetherless cords. They Bluetooth to the boat. So if you get 100 feet away from the helm station, the engine would turn off. So it allows them to move around the boat, adjust the tow line and fenders as they're dealing with these boats that are going onto a hip tow or towing behind, without having to constantly reattach back to that red cord. We do 24/7 VHF remote dispatch. So it is radio over internet. So we have our high spot down off of the chop tank. And from there, that radio sends it out to all of our phones. So we're able to constantly monitor channel 16 and the other channels wherever we are. We could be in Maine and still be hearing the VHF on the Chesapeake. We do VSS, digital invoicing. So instead of old paper invoices, it's actually, people don't even need to sign anything now. We can just shoot the invoice off to Boat US or email it to them. So we've eliminated having to get things signed and the old school pen and paper way. We do digital salvage contracts, which make it a lot easier. QuickBooks, credit card readers, we take Venmo. And oftentimes a lot of people don't know where they are out on the water. We hear all kinds of stuff like, you can't miss me, it's nighttime, you can't miss me, I'm under the moonbeam. We've gotten, I'm right next to that big long dock with the White House. So getting people to figure out their latitude and longitude and where they're exactly located can be interesting. We just had a Coast Guard meeting recently, and that was one of the biggest things they want recreational boaters to know, is to figure out how they can tell people where they are. So we use findmesar.com. If they can open that up, it gives them their lat and long. I-911 we subscribe to, and we can send them a text, and it's immediately, once they see the text, it immediately sends us back their location. If people have iPhones, they can open up their Compass app, and the Compass app also has your lat and long. The Boat US app, there's a lot of different ways that people can do this. But sometimes it can be tricky if people don't have their location services on and that sort of thing. Okay, so here's a picture. That's a picture of Siren. So we're able, like, the red line is exactly where our towboat has run. So we can see, you can see Tow Jamm 3, that's kind of the geofence, and you can see exactly that day, where he ran to get a boat, dropped the boat off, and then came back. So we can have that for all 4 of the boats, so we can constantly see where everybody's at on a busy day. Teamwork makes the dream work. We truly believe that creating a inclusive, team-driven environment is key to keeping your employees happy and wanting to stay with you. So we have barbecues, family barbecues, everybody comes over, the kids get together. We just had our spring captains meeting back in March. We went out to Pintail Point. We took everybody clay shooting. So we like to do a lot of fun things together to keep the team, remembering why we all like each other and love each other. And because what we do is really hard. We're asking a lot of these guys, they're on call, they're going out small craft advisory, middle of the night, it's cold, and other people are staying at home. So we pay them well, we invest in them. And in return, we expect super great employees that are honest. We want them to assist in SAR, search and rescue, or emergency cases if they're out there, knowing that they're probably not going to get paid for it. And ultimately, we want everyone to treat other people and boaters with respect, because that's what we want. Here's a fun project we did recently. There was a 52-foot ferro cement boat. We were contacted by the Maryland Natural Resource Police and Cedar Point Marina to tow it out, and we sank it just north of Ken Island in like a little reef sanctuary off of Love Point. So it was a pretty cool project, because normally we're floating boats, and this time this boat turned into a reef. So we put big plugs in it. We had a diver in the boat, and we took it out and lined it up exactly where we wanted it to go down, and it's marked on the charts. And so pulled the plugs out, and she sank in just under an hour. And she actually laid down perfectly on her keel, and she's sitting straight upright, just like she is there. So that was a pretty cool day. A couple years ago, we bought, my husband and I, that's my husband, Adam. You might see him out on the towboat. And we bought a 39-foot Holiday Mansion houseboat. I literally would have never, ever thought I would be a houseboat owner. I'm a sailor. So we bought this as a place for our captains to come hang out, and we're refitting it. This boat is awesome. We're so into it. Adam's completely gutted the inside, and he's been rebuilding it. But it's a way for us to incentivize more captains that maybe live farther away, or on super hot days, they can come in. There's going to be, you know, sofa, packed fridge, TV, air conditioning, or in the winter, they can come get warm. It's going to be at the marina right next to all of our towboats. It's also going to be, you know, a mobile platform where we can move salvage bags and dispatch from it, and get our family to hopefully be together on the water more this summer. So the next slide is a video of the houseboat refit. This is it. That's our son Burke. There's my husband Adam.
Wow, that looks nice. I think I want to come work
Okay.
again.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the new project, and that should be ready in another month or so. Okay. This is about the average nautical miles that the towboats put under them each year. So Tow Jamm 1 is doing about 1,850. Tow Jamm 2, the one in the middle, is 2,200 nautical miles a year. And then the inflatables hitting more like 3,300. That gets a little bit more better fuel efficiency, so we'll send that one out more often when it's not too bad. So the guys are out a lot, and we always tell them that if they see something on the water, so we work really closely with our river keepers and the other people. We're out there, we can report stuff to Coast Guard if we see hazards in the water. There's a strong WS presence on the Chesapeake. So there's over 35 ports in the Chesapeake Delmarva region alone. And then there's over 350 ports nationwide and 600 towboat US boats. So with your membership, it comes with any boat you own, borrow, or charter anywhere you go. So the Chesapeake Bay in particular has a ton of red boats. And we do a lot of partnered advertising with other towers in our area. So there's everybody to the north and south of us. Invest in your community. Our two focuses are boating safety and environmental stewardship. So for the boating safety aspect, do a lot of life jacket giveaways and safety events. We partnered with Inspired by Hannah. So this picture on the bottom left, the gentleman's name in the blue purple sweatshirt, that's Dave Ash. His daughter Hannah Ash was 23, and she was in a boating accident September 5th of 2020. She was in a 17-foot open bow rider Sea Ray, and the boat was on the Corsica River. They were out for the day, came back the same way, and they hit a sandbar. And she went forward and under the boat, and she did not survive. So we've partnered with Dave for outreach and created signs at our boat ramps and safety packets to hand out to people. We also work closely with the Boat US Foundation. We do a lot of safety talks. So we do them at the Cub Scouts, Power Squadrons, and we work with our news outlets as well. So Inspired by Hannah. So this, we believe you should really find something that you believe in, a cause, and get behind it for the long haul. So we have 5 of these signs out at our ramps in Queen Anne's County. And what they are is you take your phone and you can scan QR codes. And the QR codes give you the NOAA weather, tides, charts, resources, state fishing regulations, and more. So it's a way for people to become safe and think about the weather, tides, and everything before they depart, so that they can have a better and safer day on the water. This year we redesigned the signs, so they're looking more like this now. What we did was we created one central QR code that when you scan that, it takes you to a landing page. So that one QR code, the big one in the middle, takes you to a page that lists, you know, everything specific for that site. We Adam and I spoke at the Boat US conference, and we presented this idea to the fleet. So these signs are now going to be out in California, Florida, and all over the country. So it's now nationwide, which we're super excited about, because there's nothing really like this right now, where you can be at any kind of boat ramp and get immediate real live information on the tides, weather, and all the good stuff that you would want to know. So hopefully we'll be able to keep more people alive this way. Here's an example of the sign for Tow US Ventura. So this is Southern California. This is going to be their sign on the left here. And then when you scan that QR code, you'll see that it opens up to the boating resources page. So this is the tide specific for their sites, where the signs are. So even for us, like we've got a site at Kent Narrows, Mattapeake, those each give the tides for that exact area. We also work closely
Sarah, before we move on, I just wanted to ask a quick question.
Sure.
Priscilla asked it, you know, when you do these safety events, or, you know, and this is an initiative, but also when you're out on the water, have you had any medical issues? And if so, any like an account you'd want to share, or advice on how to deal with them?
What do you mean?
Well, if you found like what are the coordination? Let's say you have somebody and there's a I don't know, they're bleeding, and certainly you would treat it right away, but with the safety services, how does that go down? Are you just in contact with the Coast Guard and passing on needs, or what? Is there any sort of account that you can?
Sure.
Advice?
That's a really good question. So I would immediately make a call to 911, and that goes out to fire and rescue. So you're getting local fast EMT. There's so many fire boats in our area, in the Annapolis area, and that's going to be fast response for the EMS services, paramedics. That's something that we can't really provide. So we carry basic first aid kits. On my training boat, I've got a tourniquet in case I ever encounter somebody with a propeller strike. We have in the past, you know, we had a guy that was hit pretty badly by the boom, and he was bleeding profusely from the head, and we were able to wrap that and kind of stabilize him. That's our role. If we need to stabilize until the professionals can get there. It doesn't happen super often, but we always will immediately involve the local agencies. So for that, it's calls to, you know, Sector Maryland, Station Annapolis, the Coast Guard. And I tell people that when to make that call on the VHF radio for a Mayday if anything's going on, and simultaneously, if there's another person on the boat, get on the phone, make a 911 call. These agencies don't always communicate with one another. So in a time of peril, you know, if there's something really happening that's serious, it's very important to make the call on the VHF so that the Coast Guard can hear you, but also all of the surrounding boaters in that immediate area. And then you right away want to be making that 911 call to get those fire and rescue guys heading out to you as soon as possible. Yeah. So yeah, we're the stabilize and call for backup.
Yeah, I like that point about the VHF and 911, because I mean, we all have the DSC feature, and then when I'm working with people, I say you want to make your voice call, because you know that might go a longer distance, but people right around you then will know what's going on. So I'm glad you said that.
For sure. We actually had a call last Saturday. A guy was out and he ran out of fuel, and he didn't have a VHF radio, and he didn't have any cell phone service. So he had to make an emergency 911 call. 911 then called Maryland NRP, who then coordinated with us to go out and drop fuel. But like, if this guy had just had a handheld radio, it would have eliminated that whole, you know, roundabout way of getting to us. So I always tell people it's super important. We go out, our guys, we wear our life jackets. We have PLBs, personal locator beacons, inside of our life jackets. We're wearing wireless ECOs. All of our radios are, you know, with the MMSI number. There's so many things that you can do that are like cheap life insurance policies that help keep you safer on the water. And just being religious about that, because ultimately, if we're out there, something's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. So just mitigating all of those risks, I think, is the most important.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So you recommend having PLBs on the Chesapeake?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So like we wear the Mustang life jackets and they have that little zipper. So I'll just tell you a quick story, but last summer, the week before 4th of July, the Zodiac, the 733 inflatable. So we had just completely redone it, new tubes, new engines, new electronics. And it had been in service, you know, for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months or so. And he was coming back, the sun had just set, coming off the Choptank, back off at Tillman. This is my husband. He's been boating his whole life, captain. He hit a wave. And it was the following sea. The tube separated from the bow, the fiberglass part of the bow. So the tube and the bow separated, and the whole boat began to pitch pull and roll. So he was connected to his kill switch cord. He had his PLB and his life jacket. So he was actually about to bail out of the boat so that it wouldn't roll on him. And then just kind of the boat kind of came back just in time. So yeah, that he didn't have time to make a mayday call. His phone would have immediately been wet. So in that instance, the PLB would have been what saved him. These are like, he's been boating, he's almost 50 his whole life. Like one of the safest, most conscientious people on the water. So it can happen to anyone. It can happen at any time. Usually it's usually going to be probably at nightfall or when the weather is getting crappy. So yeah, we do PLBs for everybody. Yeah.
All right.
So environmentally, we work with the Chesapeake Bay Paddle. So this is they kayak and paddleboard down the bay to raise money for to replant oysters. And we think that's super important to be involved in that sort of local outreach. So all the Chesapeake Toba US companies do it on the entire bay. We stay with the paddlers for an entire day or two and just make sure that they're safe, hand out waters, keep other boaters away from them. We also work closely with shore rivers. Those are our local river keepers on the Eastern Shore. So they are the voice of our waters. They are the advocates on Capitol Hill. They do water quality testing. These people are amazing. So we report any algae blooms or anything weird that we see. We'll do water quality testing for them. They're really good people. And we also work with Chesapeake Dolphin Watch. So we take out their local marine biologists and they drop hydrophones and so we'll take them out as they are putting buoys in the bay and they're studying the noises and sounds of fish and mammals that are out here and the effects of boating, what that has on them. Business outreach. So we don't have any boat shows really in our area. So I visit marinas often, go to local businesses, West Marines. We do boat parades. We think it's really important to put a face to the business name. It's been great to go out and just meet people, especially after COVID, get back out there and shake people's hands and talk to them. One thing when we came up here 5 years ago, my husband and I wanted to make sure that we created a new website, so towjammarine.com, but we wanted to have resources on our page. So we added all of these helpful links that people can go locally and find information about life jackets or pretty much anything. And I've actually added more since this. So people they visit our website. I do top 10 anchorages every year. It's a big blog post. I'll have the captains send me their favorite anchorages and I'll link in local marinas and restaurants. And so people will often go to that and find cool areas to visit on the bay. Opened a boating school last year. It's called Chesapeake Boating Academy. So it's in the Kent Narrows. And it's kind of been my baby and my project, and I'm absolutely loving it. Been teaching sailing and boating, most of my life. And so to be able to do it so close to home now is really cool. So I'm located at Wells Cove Marina in the Kent Narrows, and it's me and up to 4 students, and it makes me really happy to be able to interact with people and create safer boaters. I know Phil does the exact same thing. It's really cool to give people these aha moments where they can then go out on their boat and feel like they have a skill set and be better on the water. So they're 3, 8, and 16-hour hands-on courses using National Safe Boating Council and US Power Boating curriculums, 4-to-1 student instructor ratio. And so you can see on her wrist, that's the wireless ECOS that she's wearing, that bright yellow thing. So I put them on all my students. I put them when I take my kids and our dogs out. Everybody puts them on. So if anybody were to fall overboard, immediately the engine shuts off. All right, here's another picture. And I think that's about it.
All right, cool.
Thanks for listening to me talk.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So many
Yeah.
amazing things that you have started and are part of. You know, one thing that we are, the conversation that we always have, or I don't know, makes me feel a little nervous, is the salvage question.
Yeah.
And, that when you, what do you say? What is the best? Let's say you get into a situation, maybe you've run aground, you can't get off, or there's some sort of damage to your boat, and somebody says they come up to help you, and then there you have these precautionary tales of you need to make sure that the situation is clear, because then someone can then take your vessel. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, no, that's the old school thought of like, if your boat's salvage, it's people can call salvage rights on it. Yeah, maritime law, that's not really the case. No, I mean, even with these derelict vessels, like you can't just go up and grab them. People will call us on those. You need to have permission from the DNR, and even so, they're usually waiting over 30 days. No, that's not the case. People contact us if they need their boat salvaged. And so a salvage doesn't fall under your Boat US membership. It falls under your hull insurance policy. So we tell people it's really important to know what your hull insurance policy covers. Does it cover the full value of the vessel? If our salvage cost, $5,000 and you're insured for $10,000, are they going to pay for our salvage and then the value of your vessel, or are they only going to give you that extra $5,000 back? It's really important to know like what you have. Not all insurance companies are made equal. Some don't want to pay out and don't want to do it. Some are great. Ultimately, we like to tell people, like, just to mitigate the salvage risk, we always, if you can, keep an eye on your scuppers, make sure your scuppers aren't clogged. Check on your boat frequently, check its lines. If a big storm's coming, keep an eye on it. The wooden plugs, we always keep those near our through hole fittings. So if your boat does start taking on water, you can plug it. But people won't come take your boat. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. And
yeah,
then
maybe in the Caribbean.
Yeah. Okay, good. Urban legend.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have another question here. Tell us about your business. So I don't know if you have a top story of what mostly are you salvaging?
On the bay, we're doing smaller stuff. So center console, sailboats. We've had a couple. So we had an interesting one. This was 2 Thanksgivings ago. It was the day or 2 after Thanksgiving, gale force winds, and a gentleman and his adult son left the marina in Cambridge, and they were headed towards Havre de Grace. That was their destination for the day. He had an electric engine. He was coming out of the fairway of the marina, which is right next to the Cambridge Route 50 bridge. You guys driving down to Cambridge, there's the Route 50 bridge, and then right next to it's like that little fishing bridge, it's a little concrete fishing bridge.
Right.
Anyway, the guy was coming out of yacht maintenance, I think, and his electric engine died. He couldn't get his generator restarted. I mean, he was literally only a couple hundred yards from his slip, and there's gale force winds, so it pushed him under the Route 50 bridge. It demasted him. So he got his catch rig, masses in the water, and then his boat kind of gets wedged up under the fishing pier.
Man, there must have been some current.
Yeah, and it's now it's like later afternoon. DNR comes out, they pull him off the boat. They almost swamp trying to get him off because it's really rough. And so that guy was actually, believe it or not, he wanted to go to the Northern Bay and then go out of like the Delaware River and then head over to Ireland. So That was interesting because he wanted to cross the North Atlantic in December. So almost lucky that this happened so close to home. So that was one. We did a 52-foot saber that threw its port shaft in the shipping channel.
Whoa.
It had just taken on 600 gallons of diesel. So in that case, that's we want to immediately, we were on scene right away, called a mayday in, got out there, Coast Guard was out there, kept other boaters away from us. We were able to tow him out of the shipping channel. And then, that's getting mitigation for pollution. So boom around the boat, making sure everything's plugged up, getting divers in the water to bag it up safely. And then there's just people that their boat sinks in the slip, or they don't service their lifts maybe, and so it kind of falls off the lift. That happens. It's a bit of everything, really. Yeah, it's a bit of everything.
Like, so you have your own boom equipment and everything for fuel spills.
Yeah, so this is soft boom. If there was a big major spill, they would bring in hard boom. But pretty much everything we're doing is all soft boom.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all the guys are, they're all trained, and we go to conferences every year. And I just got back from a SAR forum down in Hampton Roads, where we, go out and you do different types of training, and we do night ops. So we go out and we see what it's like to shoot off flares, search and rescue patterns at night. So it's really cool to be in the industry and get to kind of always learn from people that are better than you and can teach you more. And so you stay, you can level up in your game.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're walking around the marina and you see a spill and a slip, and you see the sheen on top of the water, and you're supposed to call,
So probably would call Maryland Environmental Services, MES.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then would they come and deal with it, or is the next step for them to call you or a business like yours?
Well, MES probably, we would, if it was our salvage, we would come in. But if it's an extensive spill throughout like a whole marina, our job is to, keep it contained when we're doing a boat. So even if we're salvaging a boat and we don't see any fuel or diesel, we still boom the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Just in case something were to leak. So we still boom it all the way over. And when we're pumping the boat out, we're pumping that water into the boomed in area to contain any sort of, molecules or things that could float out. But if it's a big one, that's going to go, and they're going to bring in the big equipment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bob Forden also is asking, have you ever had any experience with Chubb Insurance? CHUBB.
Chubb is great. Yep.
Yeah.
Chubb is who insured that big saber that sank in the shipping channel, and they were pleasant to work with, and they pay out well. And yeah, they were a really good insurance company.
Ooh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question here is from Bill Washington. As a former towboat captain owner, I actually disputed an article depicting uses pirates and to watch out. Ooh.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So disputed an article depicting us as pirates and to watch out. Yeah. So I guess I guess that's a part of the word going around, which isn't exactly true.
Yeah, it's difficult to hear that. We spend a lot of money on our boats. We're on call 24/7. Our captains are literally, trained professionals. They're sober. They come out for you in the middle of the night. And so if you're a Boat US member, then it doesn't cost you anything. And if you have hull insurance and it's a good policy, it won't cost. But I tell people, part of being a smart and responsible boater is to, get a towing policy, whether it's with CTOW or Boat US or whoever else. It makes you better, because it's not okay to rely on other people and to flag other people down. They don't have the equipment and the gear. People that try to tow these boats, and cleats are flying off. It's dangerous. They're not using the right equipment, the right lines, and people get hurt often. So being smart and safe is, instead of calling somebody else, you call your local Tow US, your local CTOW, and have the professionals come help you.
That's a really great point, because also Boat US has so many other nonprofits they support, and their safety magazine, and there's just so many reasons to support that. So
Yeah.
it's
And
another
we work,
aspect of safety I hadn't really quite thought through before.
yeah, we work so hard that to hear those sort of things, like we just go for, my husband is like, we're so dedicated, and ultimately we're not pirates by any mean. We only render assistance if you ask us to. We don't ever go out there and hook up to people. So yeah, I
Right.
agree with what he says.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another one from Alan, one of our board members. It says, as CPR and first aid trainers, we teach to call Coast Guard or to activate your DSC distress button. The Coast Guard will make sure that the closest response vessel will be dispatched to make arrangements to get the victim into the hands of emergency medical system. Right, which is exactly what you were saying, that you'll go there, you stabilize, and then you make your radio calls, and as soon as services, the appropriate agencies will be there to deal with the emergency at hand.
Yeah, Coast Guard's great. So we work with our SAR coordinators and our local sectors, and they're always our first call. But if it is, if it's a major propeller strike, it can take Coast Guard longer to launch and to get those guys. And we've got so many people locally, Graysonville Volunteer Fire and Rescue, Ken Island, that will also make that local call. So that they can, if there's an emergency, or if my husband's out there, if I'm out there, I want everybody called, coming out, looking for us.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So for Coast Guard, I mean, they're either coming from Baltimore or Annapolis. Is this correct? What are the major areas that?
Yep. So there's national region, NCR, National Capital Region. So that's Sector Maryland, Sector Baltimore. We have Station Annapolis. We have Oxford has a station. Crisfield has a station. And there's more, but those are like in our close vicinity. Those are the ones coming. But yeah, they're a little spread out. But they're really good. If they will stick with the case, and they'll put a chopper up if they need to. I always tell people this is really important. Label your life jackets, label your flotation devices, your type 4 throwables, because when those blow out of your boat, or your kayak or paddleboard blows off of the dock because you didn't strap it down or pull it high enough on the beach, and someone finds that triggers a whole search and rescue. And so last summer we found a type 1 big offshore life jacket floating in the Miles River. We caught it in, and we were out searching, thinking there was a possible person in the water. And it turns out that the person had just not put it into his boat and strapped it in. But that's like, a chopper is $10,000 an hour. So these are our tax dollars. So we want to make sure that they're being used for cases that when they really need them. So I think it's just important just to also, when we find stuff, if we find a number on it, we can just call right away and say, oh, okay, it blew out of your boat shed or whatever. Or, oh, okay, we actually need to get people out here. We need to start doing patterns and looking for people, that sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That reminds me of last summer I was helping out some friends. They had a little opti that they'd left on the beach, and they got the tide had come in and taken it. And so the owner of the opti, his first reaction was to contact the Coast Guard to say that they had lost the opti. And I was thinking that he wanted to get his boat back, but really, I mean, that could have also started a chain of events of a search and rescue event.
It does. Absolutely. Which is what we want. We want those people there jumping for us when we all need them on the water, but we also don't want to send them out for stuff that, and it happens a lot.
Right. No, it does. It does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Sarah, we've got a little extra time. I don't know if you would tell us a little about growing up and going to school and sailing and your achievements.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up kind of on a sailboat in the winters, cruising down to the Bahamas with my parents, and they had a Naiad 34. And then my dad got a 45-foot Apache, an old English catamaran. So I grew up living on sailboats and loving it, and then sailing at Miles River Yacht Club out of St. Michael's. And then I went to St. Mary's College and raced on the dinghy team there. So that is kind of like you wake up, you go to class, you sail for like 4 hours in the afternoon, you race for Dadas all weekend, and then you come home, back to school, and you do it all over. And that was amazing. And then after college, I bought a 36-foot Louisiana catamaran down in St. Martin, which is basically like a big Hobie on steroids, kind of, I would say. It's like a very bareboat, fast catamaran. And I sailed that around the Bahamas, back in St. Martin. And so that was really cool. And then, then my dad ended up passing away, and he left me his Morgan 41 out island. So sailed that around for a while. And if you guys know, those are like big, super comfy, like downwinder style boats. But yeah, I love it. I still sail like a J80 in the summer out of AYC.
Oh, do you?
Don't sail as much as I want to, but we're so busy. I just try to do what I can.
Of course, yeah. I'm sure your little guys keep you very, very busy.
Yeah, I wish I could see all of y'all. Maybe I'm just looking at the screen of the towboat, but yeah, I appreciate everybody being here.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Actually, Sarah, if you stop sharing your screen, you should be able to see everybody.
Okay. How do I do that?
Up near the top of your screen, it should say stop sharing.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, cool. All right.
Here we are.
There we go.
All right, everybody, wave.
All right. Hi. Thanks for listening to me drown on.
Yeah. No, that was great. And it's so inspiring to see such a profitable business, and to be, and taking part in safety. And I mean I looked on your website, and I can't remember the name of the nonprofit, but the whole initiative of the scanning in order to get the title information.
Yeah. So inspired by Hannah. That family's amazing. The parents they're from Pennsylvania. The parents are both teachers. Hannah was 23. She had just gotten a job at Easton Country Club, or Talbot Country Club. And it was, September 5th, and they were out for the day. So the parents have really taken the tragedy of having lost her. So she was thrown over the bow. And then they medevaced her out to Hopkins, and she passed away that night. So the message that family wants people to know is check the tide before you ride. So that was a full moon tide. The sandbar, they went out, they had not been drinking, her boyfriend was with her. I mean, they were very responsible. They'd been boating forever. But if they had known the tide, they would have been able to maybe prevent that. So our thought is, if we can get people to check weather, check tides, kind of have charts of the area, it might be a safer day on the bay. That happened actually last summer. There was a young family. They bought one of those McGregor sailboats that kind of go fast, like the little sailboats that get up on a plane.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And so they had their teenage son. I guess the dad was driving, and then the wife had hung a hammock from the forestay back to the mast. I don't know if you guys heard about this.
No.
Same thing, like on the Chester River. She was in her hammook, and then they hit a sandbar, and it rolled her out of the hammock under the boat, and she didn't make it. So, I mean, this is happening a lot locally. So we're trying to help with outreach, just to get people thinking about paying attention to shoals, really.
I just don't know how you would even anticipate it. That's what gets me. I mean,
yeah,
especially with a shifting shoal, you wouldn't know. It just seems like go slow.
yeah. But this was a marked shoal.
It was, okay.
But I think because you can't read the water so well, especially if you're not wearing like polarized sunglasses, you can't really see. And we're not in the Bahamas where it's clear. Like it can be hard. So
Right.
we have an area right here, just south of the Kent Narrows where it goes from like 10 feet to like 6 inches. And so if you don't check your charts, like people go around there all the time, which is fine. We'll pull them off, but it's also not fine because if you hit that at speed and say you've got
Right.
kids or people on the bow of your boat, then that could be a super dangerous situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
But good thing we're getting the word out. You're getting the word out.
Yeah. So I just try to tell as many people as possible, just like before you leave the dock, we even tell our captains, like, even if you have a job, you got to go, you need to double check yourself. You know what I mean? Double check the weather, double check the tide, double check your boat, double check your safety gear. Is your PLB in? Are you wearing your ECOS? Like take that extra 2 minutes, 1 minute to make sure you're good, because you can't help anybody if you're in trouble. And I think the biggest thing is like, we wear life jackets all the time, and being an example. So I'm starting to see more people wearing life jackets out on the water. And my like 20-year-old self, when I sailed the Caribbean, like literally didn't wear a life jacket. I never hooked into my harness. I like cringe looking back. But now is the time, like our kids are watching us, people are checking you out when you're on the dock. And if they see professionals like us doing these sort of behaviors, I think that they're more likely to do it themselves.
Right. Well, ASA helps because if we don't have students in their life vests, then we're not covered by insurance. So that makes that choice a little easier.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I did want to mention your the environmental aspect, something very close dear to my heart. I was just curious if you knew, we have Tom Guay, Guay, who's the Severn River keeper.
Oh
Gonna come
no.
and speak to us next week. Yeah.
Oh, cool. No, so our Miles River Y keeper Ellie, just I think she moved over there
Oh, really?
to the Severn River keepers. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to ask if he if they know each other.
Yeah.
It's such a big project, and I think a little bit of progress is being made, but you have to just keep reminding people it's an uphill battle for sure. But it's so great to see that you're supporting a lot of those programs as well.
Yeah, I did an intro to boating class today, and I had a lady aboard. She worked for the National Aquarium, so she was part of the whale disentanglement program.
Oh.
And so I was asking her like information that she felt that should be spread to boaters, and it was the same sort of thing. You know, don't anchor in grass in those seabeds; those are fisheries. Don't go in super shallow water because it ruins that. You don't want to pull up the silt. I mean, everything that's living down there. Watch your wake, especially by living shoreline so you don't wash it out. Being a conscientious boater, keeping a lookout of turtles and, you know, stuff that you see, picking up trash. Yeah, all that's.
Yeah, right.
Can you guys think of anything else that I should be adding? Because I'm always trying to think of stuff.
Oh, I know that Maryland DNR has a nice list on their website.
Okay.
That you can get and share. I do have some. Cheryl Duval has a question she'd like to ask.
Yeah, just real fast. Sarah, my husband and I anchored last year in Rock Hall, well, Swan Creek side, and a storm came in and our anchor swung, and we had let the anchor out really far. Long story short, we got spun aground. So because it spun 180.
Yeah.
And so we were waiting for high tide, and there was high tide and there was higher tide. And a lot of people came by and were concerned about us, and we're like, yeah, we're just waiting for the tide to come in. But we also knew that so we tried to get off at high tide, we couldn't get off. So we waited another like tide cycle so that we could try again. But if we didn't get off then, that would have been time, like we wanted to try one more time before we called for towboat assistance, but trying to anticipate how long it takes the towboat to get there. Because by the time you guys would get to us, it might be on the way down for lower tide, right? And it was a holiday weekend, it was 4th of July weekend. So you're really busy on 4th of July weekend. So we had this big debate, like high tide was at like 11 a.m. So we were going to try to get off at 9:30, And
Mhm.
if we didn't feel like we were going to be comfortable, then we were going to call you guys. So that's why I couldn't type it into the chat, because it's I mean, it was complicated by this timing of the tides. We're a sailboat, I should say, with a 5.5-foot draft. So we were trying to time all that, and we knew it was complicated by the holiday weekend. And when we've been towed before for various reasons, our engine stopped, blah, blah, blah. It has taken the shortest amount of time was in 45 minutes in the Baltimore Harbor, and the longest time I think was like an hour and a half once somewhere. So our experience is between 45 minutes and 90 minutes is how long it's going to take for a towboat to get to us. So is there an average that you can give us and tell us to multiply it by 2 if it's a holiday? Like what?
Yes, generally in our area, it depends. Generally, it's about a 45-minute ETA. But like if we have our boats in the Kent Narrows and you're right in the Chester, it's 20 minutes. On busy weekends, so summertime Thursdays through Mondays, we have our boats out so that the guys aren't sitting at the docks. We call it like going out and showing the color. So they're just like, we're paying them to ride around so that if there is a call, we're not calling them from their house to their truck to the boat. That takes too long. Busy weekends, it just depends. Like sometimes we'll be dead, and then when it rains, it pours. But oftentimes with a situation like that, we'll schedule it. So
can we call, like, could we call in and say, listen, we're going to try to do this, but if we're not, I mean, it was just like one of those things, because we could miss the window and then we'd be right in the low tide thing again. Like, we don't know how much of a conversation it is, I don't know.
Yeah, no. So the owner, Towboat US Annapolis, Baltimore, that's who services Rock Hall. So her name's Christine. She's great. Call her, just ask her, just explain to her. We like on a boat like that, knowing the area, we won't pull on it unless it's a high tide, because we don't want to damage your rudder, your running gear, and all that stuff. So we will come out at the top of the tide or just before, full flood tide to pull.
And if we were able to get off, we could call and cancel. I mean, it was like one of those, like, that feels bad too. Like, we're trying to respect the
yeah. Well, if you're are you a Boat US member?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, then if we start sending a boat and they're running and then you cancel, we'll still bill Boat US and you're fine. You know what I mean? If we send a boat in that direction and they're running for, 15 minutes, then it's 15 minutes back, 30 minutes, we'll bill them. And then it's not a big deal. People do cancel.
They do cancel. Thank you. That's really helpful. Really hard for me to write in the chat. So thank you, Yvonne, for asking the question.
Yeah, that's hard though, when you get that complete wind shift and it puts you onto a shoal or something. I mean, that happens.
Yeah. And it will probably, it's supposed to be in the spin sheet upcoming issue. I had to get my husband's, we're both licensed captains. I had to get his permission that we could talk about a mistake we made that other people could then learn from, so. Anyway.
I love talking about mistakes. We presented at Boat US conference, and a big portion of our presentation was like all of the stuff that we did wrong, because I think that's where you learn. We were like, this is like everything we did, it was everything from, all different kinds of stuff, never unground a sailboat with its sail up, even if they're like, my sail's jammed. You got to figure out how to get your sail in, because we had a situation where we had it was like a 54-foot Jeanneau, use a ground in mast furling mainsail. And like if you don't furl it tight inside of the mast, it gets stuck out. It was a whole thing. A new owner, he had a captain with him, and the boat, he couldn't get his main in. So our towboat kind of said to the guy, all right, I'm going to pull you off. And when you get off, I want you to put the boat in irons, so head right into the wind. So you put your bow over here. And the guy said, okay, no problem. Well, he pulled him off. And instead of the guy going into the wind to luff his sail, he went into a full broad reach. And when he was still connected to our towboat, and started to trip our towboat. So our towboat started to go, because this guy was, he was going under sail like 8.5, 9 knots, with this big heavy boat. So our towboat had to gun it and got out of the situation. But now we tell our guys, like, we won't touch a sailboat if your sails are up. You're going to have to figure out a way, whether you're going to have to cut the outhaul and wrap it around the mast, or pull it all the way out and figure out how to unjam it, because it's just a dangerous situation for them and for us. So there's certain things that we've learned now that are just like, that are no-goes. And then, interesting enough, the guy almost tripped the towboat. It ripped the reel out of the boat. That flew up into the air, came down. And then we got disconnected, got our line in. And then we actually had a guy, Ted Sensenbrenner from the Boat US Foundation. And Adam was pulling the line in, and Ted said, Adam, watch out. This guy was coming back full speed and almost T-boned our towboat because he wanted to give Adam a tip. And so we had to gun it again to get out of the way. So it's just like those sort of things that you learn, which I think are really important to pass on to other people. You know, you can tell everybody all the things you've done right, but like, it's really like the stuff that the stories they remember, that the stuff that was bad.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yep, those are the one. That's what helps me the most too. Definitely.
Yeah.
I also have one more comment from Davis, saying that he really appreciated you and your colleagues watching out for them. I know it's David. I don't know if you want to speak of Davis, but Davis runs a charter boat, and he said that he said a smiling face for a 9 p.m. tow in the middle of a gale off Rock Hall made him smile. I'm very grateful.
Oh, cool. Oh, thank you.
All right, Sarah, I think we've come to the end of our time. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and words of wisdom and thoughts on safety and the environment and
Thank you,
all these
guys.
topics that we always need to know a bit more about as we spend time on the water and on the Chesapeake.
Yeah.
And then we will be sending you our CAPCA mug. Thank
like
you.
coffee.
It should be arriving on your doorstep within not too much longer from now.
Cool.
And
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so very much. Yeah.
Awesome, you guys. Well, have a great evening, and hope to see you out in the water.
Yes, yes. And before I let everybody go, I just want to let you know that next month we do have Jeff Gumport next week about the SS John Brown, which was a victory ship we're going to learn about. And then the month after that, we have our Severn River Keeper coming. And then the month after that, we have someone to talk about maritime law. So that's what's up and coming. And I don't know, Vicki, did you have anything else to say?
Yes, thank you. I would like to add my thanks to Captain Lawrence. I'm sure all of us appreciate your emphasis on safety and what you're doing to promote environmental consciousness. Your presentation was terrific. We appreciate you being here. And I'd like to invite you to join CAPCA, being a captain, and I would like your entire crew to become CAPCA members, those who are captains. We'd love to have you as part of our organization. And I think, you know, we would benefit by your membership, and, you know, you would enjoy being part of us as well. So if you have an open invitation, I hope you'll take us up on it. And thank you so very, very much. And to the rest of you, I hope that you, in fact, will join us next month and in subsequent months for our series of very interesting speakers. You were terrific today, and so thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to see everybody's face.